Hello and welcome to Love and Light. I'm Altair. Today we're going to talk about accessing the flow state. And we're going to use the example of angelic consciousness, or how to get in touch with your angels through choice, intention, and action. Without those 3 steps, we can't begin to access the angelic consciousness. Now, what about angels, you say? Angels are a very important part of this dimension's existence, just as bodhisattvas of the light are. In a book by Emma James that looked at angels and seeing angels and the many encounters of people seeing angels, they looked at some of the data and experiences, the inner experiences, and when people accessed those experiences and visions of angels. And they found that it was in what they call the twilight zone, or the twilight state. That state of being when we quite often wake up and we're just at that point of waking, or we're falling asleep and we're just at that point of falling asleep. And we pass from a delta state in sleep through a theta state. So just at that point, when you access the subconscious, it was that point that she discovered most people were entering that state. And this is very similar to the research by Anna Wise, who found that the subconscious is most easily accessed in the theta state. And it's also backed up by research from Professor Beauregard in his articles on Carmelite nuns and their mystical experiences. When they encountered enlightened beings, or when they felt transported to other realms or other dimensions, or heaven, it was in those theta states. So how do we access a flow state and a theta state? We do it through really deep immersion and absorption. And we do that through our choice, our intention, and our action. Choice, intention, action. Those 3 things. So let's say we're going to make contact with angels, with our angelic consciousness, which is a divine, inborn, awakened state in us that we can access when we understand how to use our thoughts. If you think about thinking, most of the time we are thinking thoughts that have been running around our heads at the rate of about 60,000 thoughts a day, 40,000 of them which we had yesterday. If you consider that, and you consider what's going through your mind right now, it could be any manner of a number of things. It could be concerns or anxiety or tension around the current world crisis to do with the coronavirus. Or it could be something to do with your own personal health, or your money situation, your job in this current situation. Or relationships, how relationships suffer or thrive in this current environment. So if you really want to bring your attention to the angels and invoke that angelic consciousness, you need to be bringing your choice of what you think and your intention to connect with angels and your action throughout the day. Bring that presence of angelic consciousness into your brain. Years ago, I was at a supermarket. It was in the United States when I was living there. And I'd just been to get my week's supply of groceries. And as I came out the door, I noticed a young girl sitting in the gutter. And she was crying. I went over to her and I asked her what was wrong. And she told me that she was homeless, she had no money, and that her parents, neither of them had jobs, and therefore they couldn't provide for the family. Now, I just bought a week's worth of groceries, so I held them out to her and I said, "Here, have this." She looked up at me as if I had given her something, a lightning bolt out of the blue, and then at that very moment, right over my left shoulder, she looked in awe and she said, "There's an angel." Now, I could feel this presence behind me. It was incredibly electric, incredibly powerful. And as I turned, I could see a light presence, quite a good deal taller than I was, just behind me. And we were both witness to one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life, which was to be in the presence of that archangelic consciousness, to be in the presence of an angel. From that day and from that experience, I've had many, many experiences with that angelic consciousness. In this last few hours, a very good friend of mine had his son in emergency at the hospital, in the emergency room at the hospital. This morning when I was doing the dishes, just after I discovered that he was in the emergency room, I received a message from the Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon. It was really immediate. I was washing the bowl as I do every morning because I do the dishes as if I'm doing them for the Buddha. So it's as if I'm washing the Buddha's bowl. And suddenly it's always from that right. And it's interesting, that's like a lot of the brain research. It's in this right temporal area. That's where the Carmelite nuns, they discovered in their research that the right temporal area was primarily the area that lit up, or the area that was activated when they received guidance and messages and insights of a mystical kind from the divine realms. And that was exactly what happened. It was almost as if a vision or an insight appeared just off to my right, almost as if it was separate from me and not part of what I was doing at all. So these experiences, we're not alone in experiencing these. Apparently, according to research, 77% of Americans believe in angels. And that's more than the number that believe in either the Big Bang Theory or climate change. So there is a great deal of emphasis on faith in angels. So why is that? The belief in something bigger than ourselves is a really crucial one. When we do that, our consciousness stops in its narrow path. It stops focusing on something very small, and they are often our own concerns and troubles, and turns to something much greater, such as how can we be kind or generous or compassionate in our day-to-day lives? Because if we truly make that our day-to-day action, if we're much more concerned with helping other people than helping ourselves, then those angels will come to help you, because you start to tap in to a consciousness that's much larger than yourself. So remember, going back to how to build your angelic consciousness, 1, choice. Make sure you choose during the day to focus on angelic consciousness as a state of being. 2, make that your intention. So you have to choose it, then make it your intention and start to embed and build that consciousness of angelic awareness as a constant awareness throughout your day. And 3, take action. Start to share thoughts and feelings of compassionate awareness and kindness with people. At heart, we are compassionate beings. Research into the flow state shows very similar types of research to what Emma James and what Professor Beauregard showed in their studies of angels and mystical experiences in the Carmelite nuns. Theta flow states have found the same theta state in the brain is awoken when people are truly immersed and absorbed in an experience. So this becomes very crucial for our understanding of wherever our consciousness is, that's where we are. If you are absorbed and deep in consciousness of angelic awareness, of angelic beings, of angelic presence, then you will attract them into your life. You will be able to share that angelic consciousness with all beings, and you will take on the aspects of that angelic consciousness: humility, gentleness, kindness, beauty, grace, compassion. We shape and design everything through our consciousness because we are the pure flow of consciousness. This is the flow state. Once we understand that we actually are a flow of consciousness, we are a flow of universal awareness, that we are truly a wave in the ocean, and that ocean, when we get in touch with it, will actually flow through us because it's already flowing through us. It is already part of us. Anna Wise says that accessing the theta state is accessing the deeper experience in our inner being. We know this to be our subconscious, a little like in Star Wars, when Luke or Rey go into their cave to face their fears. When we access a theta state, we are bringing up all manner of awareness from the subconscious. So some people might say, oh, I don't want that in my life. I've got too many frightening elements down there in my cave. Well, you're actually very safe once you understand how to deal with your subconscious. And most of the time, we block our hidden wounds, just as humanity blocks its collective wounds of violence against the environment, violence against animals, violence against women and children. These are wounds that we all share, that we need to do something about, because this current virus and the health scare is not just about our physical bodies, it is about our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. We are being asked to heal as a human race and awaken to the real consciousness that lies within us and make that real, pure flow of consciousness and that angelic consciousness a day-to-day living experience, a moment-to-moment thought. When you think about it, the thoughts you are thinking today are only those thoughts that you are conditioned to think, often by media and newspapers, the books you've read, the people that have brought you up. You are not free, you are bound. How about you make a choice to be free, a choice to go beyond conditioning, a choice to awaken? How do you go about awakening? An awakened mind is a being, a person, a precious human being who is in constant contact with the most profound, innermost aspects of their being. And how do they do that? Through accessing the subconscious through theta, through accessing the clarity of that subconscious, through the alpha bridge, and through gaining insight and understanding into that subconscious, which is clear through beta brainwaves. So that is a very simple formula that comes about when we choose, make a clear intention, and act on it in every moment. Intuitively, we all know this spiritual awareness, this mastery of being in a flow state. When we're listening to music, when we're in love or making love, when we're truly in a flow state with something we're passionate about, when we're meditating. There's so many examples where we live in a flow state. I often think of a golfer who plays golf and really has mastered that simple swing of a club and a ball. And the ball soars off into the air and lands just on the green near the hole with the flag. And it's a very simple step to reach the target. Now that person has worked again and again and again on their swing. But imagine if you worked in the same way again and again and again on your thoughts and on your feelings. What a difference it would make in this world. We would all awaken. The power of music and love and meditation is very similar to the power of the angelic consciousness, because all of those things can be in a flow state when we truly understand them. Accessing the angelic consciousness is again about three things. 1, sound. 2, light. And 3, vibration. The divine presence makes itself known through those mediums, sound, light, and vibrational feeling, to us in our own unique and individual ways. For myself, it's light. When I was just a teenager, in my early teens, I was part of an alchemical study group, and we used to, year after year, look at angelic consciousness and practice it. We would practice invoking angelic beings, and we would practice how to understand the angelic consciousness and make it a real part of our everyday lives. The angelic consciousness and the use of angelic words is not foreign to our cultures. It's been embedded and hidden in many cases in many aspects of Christianity and Judaism. When we look right through the traditions, we can find it in different forms. It's sometimes called angelic consciousness and sometimes called bodhisattva consciousness. And sometimes in other traditions it's called by other names. But that power of the angelic consciousness is something that runs through all the great traditions. So when you consider angelic consciousness through sound, or angelic consciousness through light, or angelic consciousness through vibration or feeling, an angel for some people will mean spending time in stillness and silence and spacious awareness and accessing the light of the angelic consciousness. This could mean tapping into the angelic consciousness through gamma brainwaves, for example, which create synchrony in the brain. And in that very high state of gamma brainwaves, again shown in the Carmelite nuns' research, these gamma brainwaves allow us to access not just higher frequencies of the brain, but also higher frequencies in terms of dimensions and consciousness. The light shows itself through visions to people. So that's one aspect of angelic consciousness. So an angel may appear to you as a vision or as light. Then there's sound, the primordial sound of Om or Amen, or in so many cultures and traditions and spiritual traditions, the word or the power of sound has been used over and over again to connect with this angelic consciousness. This could be through the power of prayer. This could be through the power of songs. And this is why we often talk about saints and their experiences of heavenly choirs. And if you've ever experienced angels through sound, as I have, it is as if you hear the most heavenly, beautiful sound in your life. The heavenly sound of an angelic choir or angelic beings is really one of the most pristine sounds in creation. So light or sound. And the third is vibration or feeling. Sometimes we sense the presence of angelic beings. We feel them. Feeling is such an important part of our inner experience. So we have to do some basic things to get in touch with angels once we have decided to make a choice to focus on angels. And we have an intention to do it day after day. And we act on it because we start to connect our thoughts and focus and concentrate and absorb on angelic consciousness. Once we've decided to do that, then we need to learn interoception or turning inwards to that consciousness and learning how to concentrate and absorb. So remember those basic tips. Spend time today in angelic consciousness. 1, make a choice to immerse yourself in angelic consciousness. Read about it, study it, listen to music, connect with angels that are all around you. 2, if you have that intention, then keep repeating that intention. The moment you wake up, connect with that intention to tune in to angelic presence. Action. Throughout your day, bring this intention time and again into your mind. Instead of thoughts of anxiety or worry or what's happening with the world, bring the presence of angelic beings and angelic consciousness into your thoughts. Something in your soul will awaken and you will remember that you are part of that angelic family. You will remember that this sense of belonging and trust is something we all want, right? Especially more than ever right at this time. So as humanity, if we get past this anxiety, we will see that we are reaching out to the wider consciousness. We're not just alone on this earth. Imagine if we free ourselves of anxiety and then free this planet of anxiety and start to reach out beyond the boundaries of this planet. We're not alone in this universe, and neither are we alone in this multi-dimensional consciousness. There is so much more that we can connect to and connect with, and we are part of a divine family just as much as we are part of a human family. Choice, intention, action, and then light, sound, vibration. Tune in to one of those aspects, light or sound or vibration, when you enter into meditation or stillness. Let your soul cry out for that connection if you want it so desperately. It will come to you, but you have to really want it. Think about the time that you wanted a new business, or you wanted a new pair of shoes, or you really wanted a relationship of some kind, and you went after it with all your heart and soul. This is no different. This is a relationship that you can foster, a relationship you can have. If you want it so deeply that it means everything to you, then you will connect, and you will see that slowly your consciousness will transform with choice, intention, action, and light, sound, and vibration. So thank you for joining me here today. Practice, practice, practice. Angelic consciousness and presence. Angelic consciousness, presence, and awareness. It's within you and all around you. Feel it and go deep. And trust in your own divine presence and the power you have to create relationship and interconnectedness with angels. Love and blessings.